riding at number 57, but he is a long way down. Not sure if he'll be able to take up his grid position, or it will be a back of the grid for him.
Well, he definitely will have to just start from the back of the grid if he's able to get round in time. This is a bit like Le Mans last year in the Moto2 class as well, but certainly for Nishimura, he's been allowed out in from his pit lane start. Now he needs to make sure he's able to get around as quickly as possible to see if he's able to take the start of this race. But for Nishimura, if he gets around in time, his tyres are certainly going to be up to temperature.
Yeah, they'll certainly be up to temperature. He might even set a pole position lap. He's going to have to go that quick. But they're coming around the final corner now. Steve, this is one of them kind of races where we can't read too much into it too soon, but we can tell people that Ortola's going to be quick, Salvador's going to be up there, the front two rows are going to be generally in the mix, but like we've said, look out for David Alonso, look out for the likes of Mario Aggi, look out for Antonio Rueda. There is going to be a peloton at the front of this.
Yeah, we've got a 12 race season this year for the Moto3 class. Kicks off here in Estoril. We're in Valencia in a few weeks' time, then Catalunya, Portimao, Aragon. They'll support the Misano Grand Prix as well, and then we've got double headers to finish the year in Jerez and Valencia. The riders now making their way onto the grid. You can see the front row, and it's Ivan Ortola that starts from pole position on the number 24 machine, David Salvador on the 38 on the TM Racing bike, and then on the outside of the front row, the 32 of Takuma Matsuyama. And just keeping an eye on what's happening with Nishimura and whether or not he's been able to get to the grid. Doesn't look like he's been able to get to the grid. He has just arrived just now, and it looks like he's been ushered to the back of the grid, Kiko. So able to start this race from the back of the field, but it's all about Ortola, Salvador and Takuma Matsuyama on the front row of the grid. We're getting ready for 17 laps of the Moto3 Junior World Championship action here in Estoril. The red lights are on, and the 2021 Moto3 Junior World Championship is on their way. Ivan Ortola from pole position on the number 24, able to make a clean start as they head down towards turn 1. We do have one rider that struggled off the line, but into turn 1, it looks like it's Matsuyama's made a great start, and we'll wait and see what happened down in towards turn 1. It looks like it might have been Matsuyama that's been able to take that lead. It's actually Danny Halgado that's done a really good job from the second row of the grid. Ivan Ortola now into second position. Matsuyama just ushered down to third spot. Matsuyama trying to dive down the inside into turn 3. Looks like he's been able to take second position. Action-packed start here in the Moto3 Junior World Championship.
Action-packed and all clean. Really good start from everyone. Holgado leading then from the TM of Salvador. Then it's Matsuyama, and I think in fourth is that...
It's Ivan Ortola, our pole setter. He's been just factored down the field a little bit. That can happen in the opening races, the opening laps of the season. You've got to make sure that you're able to keep yourself in those leading positions. We've got Jose Julian Garcia up there inside the top 5 as well. He's a race winner, the only race winner in this class in the past, and he'll want to make sure that he's able to stay in that lead group.
Yeah, Garcia got a terrible getaway, properly bogged down. He's recovered a little bit now. He's on the back of that leading group in 5th place. 6th place, can't quite see who that is. The number 77 is going out. That's Mattia Volpi.
And it was Volpi obviously that had that issue on the start on the start of this race into the chicane for the first time, though it's still Danny Halgado leading the way, and the 15-year-old doing a really good job here on the opening lap of the race. But David Salvador doing really well on that TM as well to be able to hold on to second spot.
And we said it in warm-up this morning, Steve. We was watching trackside. We said that Salvador could be in the mix, and he's looking. He could be slipstreaming his way to the front here, down the straight. We're coming to the end of lap 1. It's a out wide.
Munoz all the way out wide. Let's see what happens here as they try and slipstream across to the start-finish line. Matsuyama not close enough to make the move on the run across the line, but he's certainly going to be in the right position. Look at Garcia, the way able to use that big slipstream to sweep around all those riders as well, trying to make sure he's able to take the race lead. But Danny Halgado holds him off with that wide sweeping line into turn 1. Good riding from Halgado on the opening lap of the race. Good riding from all these front runners as well to be able to keep their noses clean. Very easy to have an opening lap crash like we've seen in the past couple of seasons in the Moto3 Championship. Jose Julian Garcia not quite able to get that bike stopped, but looks like he's going to be aggressive in these early stages, Kiko. He's the guy that's won a race in this class.
He is probably one of the favourites for this championship, and he really should be. He's been around long enough now on Moto3. He's even got Moto3 World Championship experience, front-running Moto3 World Championship experience at times as well. So the number 20 there we're talking about, he is in contention here. Matsuyama been relegated to 4th now. Bit of a gap back then to David Munoz. All wide from Garcia.
Runs wide on the run into the hairpin. And,
2 places.
Able to collect it though, so nothing to be too worried about at this stage of the race. Able to keep himself in that lead group. Going to try and answer straight back on Matsuyama. Not quite close enough to make the move. But Garcia, he's got a little bit of confidence about him at the start of this race. but maybe a little bit of overconfidence on the run down in towards turn 6. Down into towards the chicane, this is where if you're a little bit wide, you can have a mistake, you can have an accident, and you can take out quite a few riders along with your own mistake. We're just seeing a long lap penalty has been given to the number 7, that's Filippo Fariola. He's been given a long lap penalty for irresponsible riding. He's further down the field, but for Fariola, he's going to have to make sure that he takes that in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, he'll have to get on that within 3 laps, I believe. So Farioli down there, already down the order anyway, so it's not going to affect the leading group too much. At the front, Holgado leads. There's a gap between 2nd and 3rd now at the moment. Matsuyama being slipstreamed by Garcia. Holgado's still led across the line. Salvador, is he going to pull out on the brakes? No, he's not. He's just keeping a watching brief. Garcia goes 3rd. 4th nearly was Munoz, but Matsuyama, I think, just chopped his nose off. And in 5th place in 6th place still is Ortola. And 7th, that looked like Rueda coming through there. So Rueda showing a bit of form at last.
Yeah, you can see here the 96 of Danny Holgado continues to lead this race from the 38 of David Salvador. Salvador, pole man here last year, front row start this season. He does love Estoril. He's got a couple of podiums in the Moto3 Junior World Championship. Still chasing that first race victory though, but he's doing a good job here to make sure he's keeping Danny Holgado honest. Holgado's had a lot of podiums, Kiko. Still waiting for that first race victory though, just in that battle for 3rd position. You can see Matsuyama just trying to place himself just to put that pressure on Jose Julian Garcia. But at the front of the field, Kiko, these are 2 riders out there trying to get their first ever race victories.
Exactly, and Holgado, looking at last year's stuff, led every race, led every lap, or was 2nd every lap in last year's first race, finished 3rd overall. Let's hope that he can get on top of that podium and kickstart his season in style. Salvador's going with him.
A few riders making progress on the opening lap. The number 80 of David Alonso, last year's European Talent Cup winner, he's moved himself up into the top 10. Further down the field, Josh Watley on the number 70 machine, just on the outside now of the points paying position. He started all the way down on the 8th row of the grid, so good opening laps for Josh Watley on that machine. You can see here with David Salvador, he's done a good job in these opening couple of laps. Himself and Danny Holgado have been able to open up a gap of over a second to Jose Julian Garcia, and this is now crucial for them to work together. Make sure that they take advantage of the scrap for 3rd position, just to make sure that this is a battle just between the 2 of them for the race lead. You can see there with David Salvador able to use that slipstream. Is he going to be able to take that inside line down in towards turn 1? Looks like he is, but Danny Holgado able to break really deep. That's good riding from Holgado, who's just set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:44.7. That tallies up pretty much the exact same pace as the pole position as well in this class, and Holgado did that pretty much with no one in front of him as well. He's been able to set that pace. That's impressive stuff, Kiko.
Yeah, the pace has been very good across all three. The 69 has gone down.
That's Fusco that's gone out,
yeah.
Rafa Fusco, and that's unfortunate for the teammate of David Salvador, but let's wait and see what's happening at the front of the field to see if the likes of Salvador and Holgado have been able just to keep stretching that lead over Garcia.
This looks like it's going to be turn 1. Yeah, he's out on a wide line, straight over the cement dust, so we had a bit of an oil spill or something of the kind there over the course of yesterday, and unfortunately Rafa Fusco is down, and I think he's out. I don't think he's rejoined that one, but back at the front, what's it like? Holgado leads Salvador, leads Garcia, who's now a distant 3rd in comparison and in relative terms to Moto3.
Yeah, on this lap though, Garcia has been able to pull back a couple of tenths of a second through the first half of the lap. That's what he has to do. He needs to make sure that the likes of Holgado and Salvador, 2 experienced riders, don't manage to open up a big gap at the front of the field, because even though Holgado hasn't won a race, even though Salvador hasn't won a race, they've been able to be front runners all the way through the last couple of years here in the CEV Championship, and that's the key thing, is now just be able to use that experience to make the most from it. David Munoz up there inside the top 5 as well. He's putting pressure on Garcia. This is as good as we've seen from Munoz. He's been really strong in the Red Bull Rookies Cup in the past, but hasn't really been able to turn that into CEV Moto3 results as well, so he's doing a good job inside the top 5. You can see though with David Salvador, he's trying to make sure he gets that inside line on Danny Holgado. He has the line, but Holgado able to break so deep into turn 1. That's impressive stuff from Danny Holgado to get the bike stopped and keep that lead.
Yeah, we've seen it time and time again. Holgado, 45, jump start, 2 long lap penalty, so the number 45.
Clermont Rouge, let's jump the start, so further down the field for Rouge, but he's in the points paying positions right now in 12th spot, but he's going to have 2 long lap penalties. That'll be up at turn 6. You have to run the long way around the corners through there, and then for Clermont Rouge, probably losing about 2.5 seconds for each of those long lap penalties. You can see here though in the scrap for third, Munoz is trying to attack Garcia. This is only going to cost them time as well though, Kika.
Yeah, this isn't Sho Nishimura, as if his race couldn't go any worse. He's crashed out now, not sure where that is, but that looks like turn 2. That's a bit fast if he's gone down there. He's walking now, so he's up and okay. Holgado leading Salvador, Matsuyama having a look, can't quite do it, but Holgado leading Salvador. Both of them have got the pace, we know that. Both of them have got the confidence to run at the front, we've seen it before. And now these two are kind of the cream of the class. The responsibility is on them to bag some victories. But we're not sure whether or not the gap looks good now. But if these two do start battling, we've got 13 laps of it to go, of course, it could just change. And we know, we've seen it before. Jose Julian Garcia, his pace is very, very strong when he rides alone.
Yeah, these riders at the front, they know that now is the opportunity to try and make sure that you're able to really establish yourself in the Moto3 Junior World Championship. You can see for Salvador, he's really strong through that last corner, uses the slipstream, but is he close enough to try and attack here on Danny Holgado? You do feel that if this was the end of the race, he'd certainly feel that he's got a much better chance of being able to make those moves. But as it is right now, he's just keeping that watching brief on the number 38 machine. Good riding from the race leaders. They've been able to stretch out just under 1.5 seconds. That's Clermont Rouge that's crashed out. I wouldn't be surprised if that's down at the long lap penalty. Maybe he's made a mistake through there. He has obviously had to take that long lap penalty. But for Clermont Rouge, he'll now have to wait until 2 weeks' time in Valencia for his next taste of Moto3 Junior World Championship action. Kiko, we're seeing a lot of riders as well get track limits warnings. This is something we're going to have to keep an eye on in this class.
Yeah, it really is, and it's a problem as well in the Moto3 World Championship. Track limits are becoming more and more of an issue there. But in the Junior World Championship, of course, they're going to be harsh on it. They want to stamp it out as soon as possible and at as young an age as possible, like these guys here. And it's, they're running wide. This is one of the hot spots on the exit of turn 6. They can go on the green, as I think Mario Adji just did there at the top of the screen. Out of here, not so much. You can do it, of course. You can do it anywhere, really, but not really a major hot spot. This is the battle for third place, and that looks like Matsuyama
down the inside. He's done a good job there on Jose Julian Garcia to get that bike stopped and pick up the spot. Really good riding from the Japanese rider. He's trying to pick up his first career podium. We saw flashes of him last year. Kiko, he was a front row starter in Valencia. He was in those battles at the lead of the race as well in Valencia, but didn't quite get the job done. Now's his opportunity to pick up that podium. But you can see with Jose Julian Garcia, he's trying to answer straight back on the number 20 machine, gets himself into the slipstream. Munoz behind on the 64 as well, trying to make sure he's able to use that. So you can see from Matsuyama attack here from number 20, but it's going to have to go all the way around the long way here for Jose Julian Garcia, and Matsuyama able to defend really well. Good riding from the Japanese rider.
Yeah, does he run wide on exit and will Garcia get him back? It's a bit close, but no, Matsuyama's done a great job there. But the thing is, they cost each other time. The gap was a second, really, a couple laps ago. Now it's up to nearly 1.6. So not ideal. David Alonso running wide there, but up in 7th place. So he was on the green, but he's in 7th. And just ahead of him is our pole sitter, Ivan Ortola. That's his next target.
Yeah, David Alonso was the race winner in both Red Bull Rookies Cup races last week, the number 80 machine. He's on the Gas Aspar bike, and certainly a rider always worth keeping an eye on. I think it's his birthday today, so he's trying to make sure he celebrates in style, but needs to make sure he's able to close up on that next group to be able to be in that podium scrap as well. Right now, we've seen Garcia with his bit of experience able to make sure that he's been able to keep himself in those leading positions in this group. Let's see what Matsuyama can do now. Does he have a little bit more pace to try and close the gap on the race leaders? The gap was 1.5 seconds between Salvador and Matsuyama at the start of this lap.
It was, and at the moment, Matsuyama's got some clean air, and the front two are actually a little bit closer. I must say, Salvador has, that's a disaster. Joel Kelso qualified a career best 6. He's crashed, can't quite see where that is, but he's out of action anyway. But Matsuyama, he is pulling away from Garcia, and he's got a bit of a clear track. Kelso back up and running on his bike.
Yeah, that's Kelso on the 66 machine, crashed out of 12th position. Kiko, take us through it.
Turn 6, trail breaking in. He's going to run it wide. Yeah, he's lost it very far into the corner. I feel like he's just got too much lean angle, too much front brake. Straight up on his feet. He's only a little lad, Joel Kelso, at the moment, of course, he's still growing, but he picks that bike up and he has remounted.
Yeah.
But across the line, 1.3, the gap has come down a little bit.
Very easy to make a mistake through turn 6 there as you just start to crack open the gas, and unfortunately for Kelso, just gets himself caught out with that. But at least he was able to get himself up into those top 10, 11, 12 positions through the course of this race. That'll give him confidence heading to the next round in Valencia. This is the battle for third position. You can still see that it's Matsuyama leading this, but last time around pulled in 0.2 of a second on the race leaders, so suddenly that group for third position is starting to edge themselves closer. You can see the Aspar team, they're trying to keep a cool head at this stage of the race. Their rider is leading this race on the gas machine. That's Danny Delgado on the number 96, but look at that battle for third position. It's starting to stretch out now. Matsuyama's broken away from Garcia, he's broken away from Munoz, who's trying to make sure he's able to get down the inside there, but those fourth and fifth positions really do need to get their head down, stop battling with each other and just go with Matsuyama.
It's about working together now, and Matsuyama quarter of a second quicker than Salvador on that previous lap. We've seen with Matsuyama before, he can run a good pace on his own, but he is prone to the odd error. I hope with 10 laps to go, that doesn't start happening.
The unfortunate thing is, right now, all Garcia has to do is tap his tail unit, because that's all you do in these races, and suddenly everyone stays with you and you're able to close up the group. But right now, Matsuyama is the rider on the move. He's had a personal best in sector 1, 2 and 3, so could well be on course for a new fastest lap in this race. As it stands right now, it's a 44.7 from Danny Delgado at the start of this race. That is the fastest lap of the race, but we've seen this group now starting to condense once again at the front. You can see with Salvador, maybe now is the time for him to start thinking about seeing if he's able to lead this race. As the riders come up and get their pit boards, so you'll say we're just about to come into the second half of this race fairly soon. This is when you've got to make sure you're in a position to keep yourself in those leading positions, Kiko.
Yeah, and this is a time where now we're around halfway into this race. Matsuyama fastest lap 44.742. I tell you, well, that's right on the pace for qualifying yesterday. But yeah, it's all about settling down now, working together. Matsuyama, perfect example of this. He's settled down, he's hit third place, he's done the battling early on, and he knows he's got the pace. It's whether or not he can catch them, and he clearly is. The gap is under a second.
Yeah, what's interesting right now is the second fastest rider on track is actually at the back of this group as well. It's in sixth position, David Alonso. He was a half a second faster than the race leaders, but with 9 laps to go, he's got a lot of ground to make up on the riders in front of him. He's got about second and a half to make up, maybe even 2 seconds to make up, so needs to really get his head down and close up on this leading group. But as it is right now, the leading group is closing right up. Danny Delgado on the red gas bike leading this race on the 96 machine. Then it's the 38 of Salvador. He's trying to be in a position to attack for the race lead. Matsuyama, though, he's bringing that group together, and Matsuyama on the 32 machine last time around with the fastest lap of the race. Jose Julian Garcia went with him, David Munoz as well. Suddenly we've got 5 riders in the lead group.
We've got a 10-wheeler, Steve, just when we thought we was going to ease our way into Moto3 in 2021. Of course we are wrong. So Holgado is leading Salvador, and now it's the third place with Matsuyama, who's right there, and the slipstream down this 1 kilometre front straight is going to be huge for these guys.
Yeah, suddenly we've got that prospect now of all these riders starting to battle with one another. They've kept a cool head up to this point. That's going to go out the window fairly soon. You can see here with Garcia using the slipstream. You can see Matsuyama using the slipstream as well. Suddenly Danny Delgado on the 96 is under a lot of pressure. Look at Munoz on the 64. He's sideways, not quite able to make the move though. We saw Garcia on that tight line, not able to get that bike stopped. Danny Delgado's held on to the race lead, but now the pressure starts to build. It's Munoz on the 64 that was the fastest rider last time around. Don't read too much into that. This is just a 5-rider group, and this could go anywhere right now.
Yeah, 44.4 mind is very, very good. He's wide there though. Through comes Salvador.
Doing a good job to be able to hold that tight inside line on Munoz. This is where Salvador wasn't able to attack Danny Delgado. He had the pace to be at that leading group, but didn't quite have the pace to make the moves on Delgado for the race lead. Now he needs to attack on that 38 machine, otherwise he could find himself at the back of this group very quick.
Halo, assalamualaikum. Lagi nonton sebentar Pina, 1 jam lagi yo. Saya nonton dulu pembalap Indonesia. Saya suka nonton balapan. Iya. Oh iya. Oh iya. Amin. Assalamualaikum.
Garcia does go down the inside into turn 6, runs in a little bit wide, and Munoz trying to hold that tight line, carry the speed through there. Salvador is going to just try and be brave around the outside. It gives him the inside line then down in towards turn 7, and it looks like Salvador's been able to hold on to that, but very easy to run a little bit wide through this section, leave yourself open for an attack down in towards the chicane. If you're the 64 of Munoz, you want to answer back really quickly, because suddenly for him and for Matsuyama at the back of this group, you want to be in a position to be able to tack down this start-finish straight. It's a massive slipstream down there now, Kiko.
It really is. The funny thing about this battle is that, especially down the front straight, Matsuyama was the rider who did all the donkey work to bridge the gap from third to second, and now he finds himself in fifth. Hardly fair, you might think, but we're down this front straight now. This is where it could all change. Look at the slipstream. Garcia is perfectly placed. We want to be a bit closer on the last lap, but he is perfectly placed for a move down into turn 1. He might even do it before that.
We know Danny Delgado's good on the brakes, but we can see with Garcia, he's brave around the outside. Has he been able to get that bike stopped and keep that position? He has. So Jose Julian Garcia hits the front. He's a race winner in the Moto3 Junior World Championship. We are starting to see some track limits warnings come into effect now as well. We've seen it for another couple of riders, including David Alonso, who's trying to close up on this leading group. Alonso up there in 6th position. He's got a second and a half to make up. Last time around though, he picked up 0.8 of a second on these riders. David Salvador picks up a position there to be able to move himself up into 2nd spot behind Jose Julian Garcia. So Garcia on the number 20 machine, on the 658 bike, he's done a good job to hit the front. Now he needs to make sure he's in a position to be able to keep attacking from that position. But right now, you can see with Salvador, he's found that little bit of hunger. He's found something there now, Kiko. He couldn't make those moves earlier in the race. Suddenly, with Garcia running wide, he takes the race lead. Let's see what he has in terms of his pace.
Yeah, he's found the lead, Steve. That's what he's found now. Holgado just going to fight off Garcia there. Yes, he does. Garcia was wide. We know that. But Salvador really now looking for a first victory. You can't discount Munoz, and you can't discount Matsuyama.
Trying to make the move into the chicane again. He's done that a few times already now, Kiko. So he's clearly got a lot of confidence in that front end. Makes the move on Munoz. We move into the final 6 laps of this race. We're pretty much into the final third of this race. It's been a hot pace all the way through. They've been pretty much on pole position times all the way through this race. Look at how wide Salvador is. He's trying to just make sure he gets that exit to try and carry as much speed onto the start-finish straight. It's just under 1 kilometre long, this front straight, but with the slipstream that these Moto3 bikes give, it's very easy for the gap to come right down in the last 200-300 metres of the straight. You can see here in 3rd position, it looks like Garcia trying to use that toe to put himself into a good position. Matsuyama trying to get down the inside as well on the number 32 machine, but Garcia able to sweep across, hold on to that 2nd spot behind Danny Delgado. But once again, we saw David Salvador, Kiko, didn't quite have the speed down the start-finish straight.
Didn't quite have the speed. He's very good in the braking areas, and he's about to demonstrate the point. No, he's not, because Matsuyama wipes his nose. Just interestingly, 1.7 is the gap between Alonso and the lead. That could be coming down as this race goes on. We're in the final third, so now it's now the time we should see this battling, and we should see these times tumble. Alonso's got clear air.
Yeah, for David Alonso, he's been able to pull in around about a second and a half over the last few laps. Just seeing another track limits warning. This one's out for Senna Agius as well, further down the field. He's trying to battle his way into those points paying positions, but for Senna, it's been a pretty tough weekend. He's got Leon Camier here actually as a bit of a mentor as well, so hopefully over the course of the season that bears fruit for the Australian rider. Right now though, he's further down the field than he'd like, but at the front of the field you can see that it's still Danny Delgado, and Kiko, every time there's been a question asked of him, Delgado's been able to answer it.
Yeah, he looks comfortable. You know, he's not really cracking under pressure. He's running his own pace. He's got a little bit of a gap, nearly 4/10 of a gap actually, over Jose Julian Garcia, and he's not looking ragged. He looks very calm on the bike. He's looking smooth, consistent, hitting all his markers, looking very, very good.
On this lap so far, he's been able to pick up about 4/10 of a second as well, but the problem for him is what happens when we get onto the start-finish straight. This is where we saw David Salvador in a really strong position last lap around, and suddenly he was 4th position by the time it shuffled out of turn 1. Let's see if the same thing happens to Danny Delgado as well. You can see the Asparti giving him plenty of encouragement down there. Delgado chasing his first race victory. It's been a while coming for him, but the number 96 certainly looks nice and strong here at the start of the season. Comes into the year as one of the pre-season title favourites. He's living up to his billing. Matsuyama doing a really good job to be in these podium spots as well. He's made a big step forward this year, and then the likes of Munoz as well. He last year was battling for points paying positions, maybe inside the top 10 a few times, but a lot of times wasn't quite in the shuffle first. He's made a step forward now as well, and Kiko, that's the big thing. As you gain that little bit of experience experience, and whether it's the Red Bull Rookies Cup or the Moto3 Junior World Championship, suddenly you can make a big jump forward.
We've seen with the likes of Takuma Matsuyama, he has had the pace and he has been building, and we knew he would be up there this year, but he's surpassing our expectations. We didn't expect him to be the main threat to the likes of Holgado, and he's doing a great job.
I'll tell you what, you can see here with David Alonso now at the back of this group. He's in 6th position, he's the teammate to the race leader. He's there.
He's on the green and he's already had track limits warnings. Let's hope that doesn't go much further for him, otherwise all this hard work will be undone with a long lap.
Matsuyama really strong into the chicane. Is he going to try and make a move now on the race leader Danny Holgado, or does he try and keep his powder dry? Holds that tight line, but he's not willing to show his cards just yet at this stage. Wants to make sure he's just able to keep that pressure on Danny Holgado. But we're suddenly going to have 6 riders in the lead group. Mario Aggi's closing in as well, and then Diego Moreira as well closing in on those positions as well. He of course had a podium last week in the Red Bull Rookies Cup, but for Moreira he's still got a bit of ground to make up on these leading riders. But certainly, Kiko, we could well have a 7-rider group at the front of the field very soon. It's Danny Holgado that leads across the line. He's not going to count for much down in towards turn 1. Doesn't look like it is. Matsuyama trying to go the long way around the outside into turn 1, but we know Holgado's very strong in the brakes. They pop up from the bubble and suddenly Holgado's under attack, but able to hold off that line as well. He is very strong on the brakes into turn 1.
Yeah, Holgado has been excellent in the braking areas all through this race. We've got a track limits warning for the number 19.
Yeah, that's Alessandro Morossi further down the field, and you're going to be a bit worried now about the track limits.
Yeah.
Just for the likes of David Alonso, we've seen him get a warning already, and Kiko, like you said last time around, might have ran out fairly close to the green. That's David Salvador diving down the inside of turn 4. That's a very, very good move to make into there. This track is actually surprisingly undulating. You can't really pick it up on the cameras, but there's some areas that are very downhill, such as the entry down in towards turn 6. You can see there for Danny Holgado, he tries to get the bike stopped. Salvador's going to just make sure he answers straight back. He's not going to be mugged in this one. He wants to try and make sure he's nice and combative, but Danny Holgado, he's got the line and he's able to keep himself in the right spot. But suddenly, Kiko, look at the number 80 of last year's European Talent Cup winner. That's David Alonso closing.
And the 16 of Super Mario Aggi. Is he going to have a say? Look at this 14-wheeler into the chicane. Here comes Matsuyama, gets it. Ooh,
he has to pull out of that one on Munoz. And certainly for Munoz, he's looking at it like, yeah, you've made that move a few times, mate. I'm not leaving that door open for you. But it was good riding from Matsuyama. He didn't want to put himself into a position where he could have a crash. He didn't want to make sure that he's able to live to fight another day in this race. He's up there in 4th position, just in front of the number 20, Jose Julian Garcia. But now look at these riders at the back of that group. It's Mario Aggi and David Alonso closing right up, and suddenly we've got 7 riders in this group. It's Danny Holgado that leads across the line, but we've also got the 64 of Munoz, the 32 of Matsuyama, and then look at the number 80 of David Alonso. He's been able to move himself all the way up this group into 4th position, could be 3rd by the time he exits the corner. Good riding from David Alonso. He has been patient all the way through this race. Last year in the European Talent Cup, we saw he was a surgeon. He was making sure that he was methodical all the way through the races, doing a really good job here to keep the pressure on these leaders of the race. Matsuyama's just taken the race lead. We've got 2.5 laps to go. Kiko, who's your money on?
Oh, don't throw me under the bus like this. Oh, wow, it won't be on Munoz if he carries on doing that. Dearie me. I must admit, Holgado's look cool, calm and collected. Having said that, David Alonso has come from 12th on the grid. He was 15th on the grid in Valencia, still made the podium there. That was in ETC, not Moto3. It's like we said at the top of this on the grid. It has been a day of rookie revelations. Look at Munoz, the line he holds.
Yeah, and you can see there at the front, Matsuyama well off over the green. That's going to be a track limits warning for him, but he hasn't gotten one up to this point in the race as well. But Matsuyama's hit the front, and in fairness to Matsuyama, he's looked really strong through the course of this race, found his positions to be able to make moves, good into the chicane, and that could well be key on the last lap. But we also know now as well, the slipstream can make a massive difference. If you think back to last year in the Moto3 class, we saw Pedro Acosta come out on top by literally thousandths of a second.
0.003 of a second exactly, was so close, and Holgado was first and second throughout that whole race as well. I said it before, I hope he is not going to be mugged here on the line, but look at Matsuyama, Holgado, and now it is Salvador there, but in 5th place, Super Mario Aggi has found his feet and he's coming on very, very strongly, slipstreaming David Alonso, and these three, they're almost in the pit lane. That was Holgado, Matsuyama and Salvador, nothing between them. Salvador looking on the inside, but it's going to be Holgado on the brakes, and Alonso, it's going to knock him out.
I'll tell you what, Alonso's not afraid of it in this race. He's done a really good job to get himself up into second spot there. He was 5th across the line with a gap to the riders in front. It's suddenly an Aspar 1-2 for the Gas bikes, and certainly right now for David Alonso, the ETC winner last year. He's trying to make sure he's in a position to make sure his teammate Danny Halgado has to wait another couple of weeks for his first Moto3 Junior World Championship race victory. That's Matsuyama. He was leading into the last corner once the start finished straight. Suddenly he's at the back of the group. So for all of these riders, it's going to change all the way through the last lap and a half. But look at Salvador. He's under attack here from David Alonso, but Alonso not quite able to make that move. Look at Garcia on the 20. He holds that tight line. You can see for Mario Aggi, he's hung out to dry there. And and Alonso just not quite with the same corner speed as Garcia as well. This is getting really close now in the final lap. Let's see if Matsuyama is able to make a move into the chicane.
And whilst that's happening, look who's checking out. Danny Holgado is starting to go here in the last. We've got about 6 kilometres left of this track. Look on the inside, Garcia. That's a big move. Gets it done on the inside of Alonso. That's for 3rd place. Matsuyama still trying to get through at the back of this group. He's on the inside of Munoz. Aggi is now looking to try and get ahead of Alonso.
Salvador's done a really good job now to be able to try and bridge some of that gap. Suddenly we've got the leading 2 with a little bit of margin over 3rd position at this point as well.
Track limits warning for our race leader, Daniel Holgado. He can't be doing it too much.
He's only got 1 lap to go now, but Danny Holgado has that bit of a gap as well. His pit board's not going to tell him he's got a gap, but he does have a gap of about half a second on David Salvador. Salvador doesn't really have that slipstream to be able to try and close up at this stage. He needs to be really aggressive on this last lap. You can see David Alonso holds on to that 3rd position as Garcia has ran out wide there by Super Mario as well. Aggi on the 16 doing a good job to be able to build his way through this race and bridge those gaps all the way. But Danny Holgado leading the way here in the 96, the Aspar rider from David Salvador. Salvador's had podiums, Holgado's had podiums. David Alonso, he's an absolute rookie in the Moto3 class. This is his debut. He's up there in 3rd position, but right now it looks like it's a battle between those leading 2.
Yeah, at the moment, the front 4, none of them have had a race win. And Jose Julian Garcia, we've said already, is the only race winner on this grid this year. At the moment, I think Holgado, if he keeps it clean, has done enough here, Steve. He's got about half a second. It can all change.
Garcia manages to keep himself up there. That's already going to be a candidate for save of the season there. But look at Holgado out in front. Salvador in this lap has been able to pull back a couple of tenths of a second, but it's not enough at this stage. We're seeing the leading group start to stretch out down in towards the chicane. Is there going to be an opportunity to try and attack from Aggi? No, he's too far back. So David Alonso is in 3rd right now, but that battle for the podium isn't finished. The battle for the win, though, it's Danny Holgado out in front, Salvador closing, but Salvador is going to need to be super fast through these final couple of corners. Look at Mario Aggi. That's going to be the battle across the line to see whether or not he's been able to pick up that podium. Looks like Alonso ran wide and Mario Aggi trying to get down the inside. Danny Holgado, though, comes on to the start-finish straight. David Salvador is going to pick up the slipstream, but it's going to be too little too late for Salvador. Danny Holgado is going to pick up his first Moto3 Junior World Championship victory for David Salvador. In 3rd position, it looks like David Alonso's held on to it.
Wow.
We'll wait and see whenever the timing screens come out for that one.
600ths of a second.
Great performance from the European Talent Cup winner last year in his debut, but a first-time race win for Danny Holgado. We've been waiting for this one for a while from Holgado.
At last, and we know he goes well at Estoril, and yeah, you may well wheelie, Danny, because that is very, very well deserved. The number 9